3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. As always, I am one half of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from the heart of Dallas, Texas. Walker Lott, my fantastic co-host, is joining us from College Station, Texas, the home of all things good and pure. Walker Lott, an absolutely fantastic start to private school football. I think it had everything we wanted and more. Number one, How are you doing? Number two, your thoughts on the overall week one?
I'm doing good. Just had class all day, so a little tired from that. So you see what we're pushing through to do these episodes for y'all. Both of us have a lot of school on our plate, but we still love doing this, and that's why we do it every week. But it's been good. Great first week. It was a lot of games that really caught our eye, that some were really close, some were blowouts, that kind of shocked us too. Like it was a good first week of football. And I'm excited for week 2.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic time. But before we do any analysis on week 1 or preview week 2, we have something very excited to tell you. As you already know, per our socials, the TXPS collection, our apparel line, has just officially launched. You see Walker Lott rocking the shirt. I'm rocking the hat. Guys, this is probably the most exciting thing we've ever done. It's something that we've put a ton of work into. And we both sat down and said before we did this, we're not going to just put something out for the sake of putting something out. We want to put time. We want to put effort into what we do and make something that, looks cool, that we both enjoy. And if you look at the design on the back of the hoodie here, because from the front, you just see it's our TXPS logo. It's very simple. We wanted it kind of business in the front and then expression on the back. But from the back, I mean, it's the TXPS collection. We're setting the standard, and you see Just Watch right there in the middle. Walker Lott, why don't you tell the people what we mean by Just Watch? Because this isn't something we put into a random name generator and just came up with. There's some thought and effort behind it.
Yeah, so we're doing drops of apparel. Hopefully the next one would be like in November-ish. This one is called the debut, because this is the debut of the TXPS apparel line, and it's the debut of TXPS media. It's the debut of a lot of stuff for it's exciting things for us. Just Watch is something that we came up with to be our kind of motto for the pod, for the company, for everything. Just Watch is something that we're going to have for probably the rest of this company. And it kind of is a double entendre, because of course we're a media company. We do a podcast, we do a lot of things, and we want you to just watch. But at the same time, there's kind of sometimes a staple about private school guys that, they're not good enough, or, they don't play good competition, when we all know that's absolutely false. We want you to kind of have that chip on the shoulder and be like, all right, you don't believe in me? All right, you don't think I'm good enough? All right, just watch. And that's kind of the double entendre with that meaning. I think that's why we love it so much. And I think it's a cool meaning and a cool message for all of y'all. And I kind of like that chip on the shoulder type attitude. So
I completely agree. I love how you play into the chip on the shoulder. That's something that I know motivated me when I was playing. I always played at my best when I felt like I was being doubted. And I know everyone that watches this has been doubted at some point, or they're being doubted currently, whether it be by us or by somebody else. And, I just think by rocking the apparel and rocking anything with our stuff that says Just Watch on it, you're basically just telling everyone, I don't have to go around and say how good I am and say how good we're going to be. You just have to watch. So, it's something that we put a lot of effort into. We're incredibly excited about it. If for no other reason, it's a fantastic way to support us. It's a great way to contribute to what we're doing. The bigger this grows, the more we're giving back to y'all, the more we're investing into what we do, getting better equipment, getting upgraded coverage. It's something that we're very passionate about. And the bigger we get, the more we're going to pour back into this community. So it means a ton to both of us. Walker.
Yeah, and want to make sure, this store is going to be open for 2 weeks. It's going to be open for 2 weeks. So it's going to be this episode. We're going to promote it a lot like we're doing now. And next episode, we're going to promote it a lot. Talk to your parents and parents, tell your kids, and kind of talk through that and be like, hey, would you want to help us out? Because this is something that is an easy way to support us that is also benefiting you because you get some cool stuff. And, we've talked about a lot of stuff we wanted to do in the future, upgraded stuff at the state championships, or upgraded like we just did our quarterback retreat. Why don't we do more than that and stuff like that? We need financial backing for all of those things. That's how the world is. So this is a great way to help us do stuff for y'all.
Absolutely. It's a selective product. There's not going to be a million of these things floating around. It's only open for 2 weeks because it's a limited amount. So get it while you can. If you want to purchase it, you can go to the links in any of our social bios. They'll be in our link tree. There'll also be a tab on our website. TXPSmedia.com is that domain. So again, we'd greatly appreciate it if you support us. And to be honest, you see Walker and I wearing this around all the time. This isn't something that we just made to make. We make it because it looks cool. We like it. We guarantee you'll all like it too. So that is txpsmedia.com. Go to all of our link trees to get our first apparel drop. All right, Walker Lott. With that being said, let us jump straight into our scoreboard recap presented by the TXPS Media Scoreboard. So a lot of great action. We will talk about the 5 games listed on the left-hand side in depth as part of our review. But is there anywhere you want to start particularly that looks interesting to you?
Yeah, I guess we'll do Thursday, TVS in the Battle of the Dog Bowl that I kind of kept going back in high school. And the trophy, the last time it was in TVS's hands was my senior year. And it's now back in the hands of TVS, and the Dog Bowl trophy is over there on the other side of Alta Mesa. TVS won, I believe, 44-7, and it was a rough day for my Eagles. I think after last year and the coach Flowers leaving, there's a lot of questions going into this year. And this was not the way, of course, they probably would have wanted to start off. But I do love my guys, and I think they have a lot of talent over there. This is just week 1, and TVS is probably going to be one of the better teams in private school this year. I still think SES can compete in district, but I think this is a statement win for TVS, showing that they finally overcome a team that they've lost to for the past couple of years, and now they're kind of settling to their own and kind of being the dominant face that they can be. For SES, I hope they take this as a loss, as a lesson, and learn from it, and understand that they have a lot of talent, and use that when they go into the rest of the games they have in the non-district schedule and into the district. So I think the guys have a really, really good mindset, and I really like the coach over there. So they have a bright future ahead of them. They just have to keep on that path, but big win for TVS. You want to talk any more about that, or do you want me to keep going?
No, I'll take a couple games myself, and you can end on a couple. I have to start with Grace Community versus Winona. I have never claimed not to be a homer. Is this the most interesting game on this board? Heck no, but I'm going to give like 30 seconds to talk about it. Grace's non-district is the same as last year. My take on it. They're playing a bunch of horrible East Texas public schools. That being said, this is the performance we needed to see. I watched Zach Davis's film, the quarterback, the 26 quarterback from that game. He looks good. Everyone looks like they're performing. I'm very excited to see, we picked Grace to win District 2 in Division 2. So they need to blitz all of these podunk East Texas public schools if I want to see them doing well in the district. So shout out to Grace Community, always my guys. Also, something that was interesting to me, Grace Prep losing 16-14 to Oak Ridge. Not quite something I had on my bingo card as reflected in my pick sheet. We took a hit because of that. But because Oak Ridge won this game last year as well, if I am correct, Walker. I could be wrong. Anyways, Oak Ridge, not a great SPC 3A team. Grace Prep, typically a pretty good TAPS D3 team. Starting off slow for Grace Prep, their culture's been good enough. I think with Lehue and the other guys, they'll get it turned around. Not the way you want to start your season for the Lions. Walker Lott, anything you want to hit before we get into our reviews?
I think one definitely we need to talk about is Aledo Parish. Aledo coming out on top 50-35. only, what is that, 15-point loss for Parish after losing a ton. I picked Parish because I told him last year I would never pick against them. But honestly, in my heart, I thought Alito was going to take this one, but I couldn't not back the guys over there. So, but Alito, the guys, the impact players like Devon Keys and other guys like that who, they're going to LSU for a reason. 2 interceptions last game. I mean, that's kind of why. But I think putting 35 on a team that like Alito, who is poised to go to back to the state championship this year and probably will win the 5A D1 state championship, I think that's very, very impressive. Hutch Crow had 182 yards receiving and a touchdown. Maddox Reed only had 38 rushing yards. So that's probably something they, work on. But Sawyer Anderson, 27-39, 69% from the field, and it had 278 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a good day. The 2 interceptions are definitely the negative, but I think they have a bright future ahead of them. And I think they don't need to take this loss as like this massive thing. I don't think they will, but we need to talk about it because that's a, loss. What is that? Probably the first loss for them since South Oak Cliff last year, and first loss in a kind of a while for this team. So also it's a loss for the new regime of Parish, right? Because the seniors that have won 4 straight are now out. So the seniors of this new class lose their first game. And so it's going to be interesting to see how do they bounce back. I think they absolutely will. I think they'll be fine, but it's going to be interesting to see, especially against a team like a Bellaire that we'll talk about later. It's not an easy matchup for them. That's going to be a tough game. Other than that, Austin Regents comes out strong in year 2 of Quinn Murphy. The D1 team only puts up 14 points. That's a rough day at the office for them. Second Baptist smacks St. Pius 41-0. And that makes them kind of solidifies our top 10 pick of them. So I'm happy to see that. ESD with Jake Jerky at the quarterback position puts up 28 on TCA Addison. All Saints put up 40. I think it was 41-0 at half. And they put up still, what is that? Like 14 points in the second half. But I think Fort Worth All Saints made their presence known week 1 in the Battle of Fort Worth. Besides that, don't know much. Oh, Houston Christian comes out with a big win that Lutheran South, I believe, won last year. Houston Christian led by Brett Kilchrist, who had a great game. I believe he had like 3 touchdowns, something like that, 3, 4. Comes out with a big win for week 1 for Houston Christian. And also Lubbock Christian beats the D2 team in Hyde Park. That's something I did not pick or Wes didn't pick, and that's a big win for Lubbock Christian. Welker Horn and Company, Coach Softly is a great coach, won D4 Coach of the Year for us last year for a reason. Comes out with a big win over a Division II team and sets them up to be kind of 1A, 1B with First Baptist. And the reigning state champs are probably 1A because they deserve it right now. So that's kind of it.
I am not going to discount First Baptist for the remainder of the season, so I don't know if I can agree with you there. But yeah, both clearly after last week, the 2 best teams in TAPS D4. But that being said, that has been the football scoreboard presented by TXPS Media. Now moving on into our week 1 recap, starting with the game that I was at, Prestonwood Christian at Liberty Christian. Liberty opens up the season in dominant fashion as they dismantle Prestonwood to the tune of 48-19. This Warrior offense is one that we've raved about in the offseason. They showed up and they showed why Friday as multiple guys put up eye-popping numbers. UConn commit Cole Welliver threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Junior standout Brady Janusek had 145 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, while Michael Stump and Jalen Hawkins added touchdowns as well. Junior running back Chase Garnett had 2 touchdowns on the ground and looked like one of the best backs I've seen since I've started covering the sport. On the defensive end, guess who? Brady Janusek came up with 2 interceptions, and both CJ and Cooper Witten flew around and made plays all night. For Prestonwood, junior defensive end Jack Harwell, senior wide receiver Gunnar Naviar, and senior defensive back Elijah Knott all had impressive performances despite the loss. Now, I will say before I pass it to you, Walker, we know already there's been a lot of talk about CJ Witten, the rising junior, how good he's been as an underclassman. I remember Hogan Nelson telling me at the quarterback camp that Jason Witten has a younger kid named Cooper, who's just an absolute freak. So I was keeping my eye out for him in this game. That kid, as a freshman in his first varsity action, just had his nose in the ball wherever it went. I mean, he's going to be really, really good and a staple for this Warriors team for the next 4 years. I'm really excited to see how he progresses. I'm really excited to see how CJ progresses. I'm not just saying this because they're Jason Witten's kids. That would be the obvious. It'd be the obvious thing to point to. No, go watch a Liberty Christian game, and it'll be impossible to watch it without seeing CJ and Cooper pop up. They're both fantastic players. Walker, your thoughts on the game?
That one clip you have of him running like out of frame, that's insane. Like that was insanely impressive. Yeah, go watch it on our Twitter. I might put it up here. I don't know if I'll be tired enough to, but anyways, yeah, it was interesting watching this. I know you had a late kickoff. What, you ended at like 11:30.
I'll go on a spiel on that real quick. The game got moved back to 8. We had a energy malfunction. The lights shut off. Shout out ERCOT. That pushed it back 15 minutes. The game didn't end until 11:30. It was an absolute nightmare, but it was a fun game to be at, so it doesn't matter. Go on.
Yeah, but I mean, a big game. I'm looking at the Dallas Morning News box score. Chase Garnett 99 on 27 carries, 99 yards and 2 TDs. Cole Weller for 70% completion percentage for 4 touchdowns. That was impressive. And of course, I mean, Brady Januszek making his case for D2 MVP early in the year with 5 receptions, 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gosh, man, that's
And just to say, those numbers aren't just numbers. Those aren't just like inflated numbers like you see sometimes. He looked every bit as good at that in person. I'm just saying that's the first time I've seen him in a live football game. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I was making my calendar yesterday and I was like, all right, circle for with All Saints Liberty. Because I'm so excited to watch him go ball out. But I mean, I would love to hear what your thoughts are about the offense for Prestonwood with Kellen Tasby at the helm. How did he look in this new offense and all of that? Because Jonah Naviar went for 7 receptions, 135 yards and a touchdown, which is very impressive. And Kellen Tasby went 50% completion with 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's not a bad game for him. But how did this offense, who only scored 19, what are your thoughts on that Prestonwood team?
It's funny because I haven't looked at the box score, and I didn't even realize that Tasby threw for that much. So he got his. I mean, they moved the ball, but it's just like it didn't really translate to what I was seeing. Like they never put like a really, really cohesive few drives together that kept them in the game. Like Liberty jumped all over them early. It was like 21-0 or 28-0 before you could even blink.
Yeah.
And then like they would go back and get one, and then Liberty would score 2 more times and Prestonwood would score once. Gunnar Naviar was very good. I remember that you put him in your write-up against Prestonwood or for Prestonwood. That was a great idea. He's a great player. Tasby is going to be very, very good in this district or in D1. I mean, he's gonna run into a lot of stout competition when he plays Parish, but I think everyone else, he's gonna have a field day. It's just Liberty, besides Parish, is probably the best team they're going to play all year. I mean, it's a really tough week 1 matchup. You know, Donnie Yantis and his staff and all those guys at Prestonwood, they're still going to be really good. People don't realize that this isn't some run-of-the-mill D2 team that just took Prestonwood behind the woodshed. It's the best team in Division 2, and Prestonwood ran into a really good team. I think we'll see Prestonwood start to gel more as the season goes on. It's just a tough week 1 matchup.
100%. What if I told you, this is according to the Dallas Morning News, our total yards, Argyle Liberty had 400, Prestonwood had 391. So only 9 less yards of total offense. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy because, like I said, it did not seem that way at all. I mean, Liberty just had total control of the entire game.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to say much more than, I wasn't there, and I think Wes did a great enough job. It was intriguing to watch kind of everyone come to gel together. I think I definitely agree with you that I think Kellen came later in the summer anyways, so having more time with his guys over the season progresses will be awesome. Guy like, Takashi Shaw that you finally got to see. Guy like him, right. Having him and Caden Collins kind of figuring out what that running back tandem was going to look like this year. I think it's gonna be a good year for Prestonwood, but in our rankings we had Prestonwood number 2 and Liberty number 3. I mean, they went against they switch, and they faced the number 2 team in the state, and I mean that's hard for anyone to play. So
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, Walker, I think there was a team last year that had a lot of guys come in later and they started really, really slow, and then they put a run together to the state championship. I forget the name of them off the top of my head, but I think Prestonwood could follow a similar script to Fort Worth All Saints. It's too much talent. Also, Jack Harwell is just so fun to watch. He got a receiving touchdown. I didn't know they were going to put Jack Harwell at tight end. I didn't know he could do that. It was just so funny. I was sitting there and I was videoing, and I didn't see him in frame, so I just zoomed in on Tasby, and I follow the ball when I'm videoing, so I zoom out and I'm like, oh, who's going to catch this touchdown? Somebody's wide open. Oh my God, it's Jack Harwell. It was hilarious. I almost got like really high from the sideline because it was so fun to see. But that being said, Prestonwood's going to be fine. Liberty is going to be even more fine. Two fantastic teams. Excited to see where they go. Now moving a little farther south to the sound of San Antonio, Walker Lott, you got to cover a game in the Alamo Dome. Probably the coolest spot any of us have ever covered a football game. How was Antonian versus Holy Cross?
yeah, I think I texted y'all right when I got there, and I literally was like, "Thank y'all so much for like coming on this journey with us. This is so much fun." Yeah, it was awesome because shout out San Antonio. It was, there's one whole like area around the stadium and full both sides for, both stands were honestly kind of full, and it was a great atmosphere. Antonian and Holy Cross had a great student sections and great atmosphere, and they just if I was from San Antonio and went to that game, I would have been really proud to watch those two private schools like have that great of an atmosphere. But so thank you for the hospitality from both sides. It was awesome being down there. But it was a great game. Antonian Prep started out on strong. First drive of the game, I think Jace Toscano finds a wide open Aiden Samiego. I know I'm going to mispronounce these names, so I apologize firstly. But number 0, Aiden, he had a great out. He was just wide open on the sideline. I think they go out 21-0. Reversed by Holy Cross. Gibby hands it off. He hands it off to someone else. And I want to say Marco Gomez, I think, ran up the sideline and it was gone. And I want to say shout out to Gibby Alvarado, man. He cut it off and he was a lead blocker the entire way, putting 2 guys on the dirt, like on his way over, man. And that's what you want in your quarterback, that he'll go to war for anyone and block for anyone. That's what I just love that about him. And it was kind of a back and forth. Holy Cross found their stride in the second quarter, made it a 14-point game, I think, at half, and then kind of Antonia, the Division I team, looked like the Division I team, and kind of put themselves on top at the end. Jace Toscano, I think he is like, we have a lot of great 2024 quarterbacks in the state, and I think sometimes we forget to mention him, but he's so calm, cool, and collected as a quarterback. And he's a guy you would love to have on your team. He makes plays happen. He can be in the pocket, out of the pocket, whatever you need him to do, he can. And I was very, I came away very impressed. 4 touchdowns on the night. Can't say much more about him. The new transfer running back, Landon Prouty, he came in and I believe he scored twice. He's the starting running back, but Michael Moreno, the junior, he also got reps in, and I think the running back tandem of them too is going to be awesome to watch this year. But Prouty scored twice, Mikey scored once, and Prouty he brings a different gear, and he runs hard, he runs fast, and he always lands forward, which is something a running back of mine I would love to have. And just going to talk to him, he was awesome, man. And Rally Strode delivered as always, both sides of the ball, interception that just landed in his lap, and touchdown over the middle. He's as good as advertised, as we always say. Bode Ferguson was another guy that impressed me. I've never seen him in person, or maybe saw him last year, but really didn't see him as well as I saw him this year. And on the edge rusher as that outside linebacker DN role, he looked really impressive. The offensive line for Antonian is deep, and they were very good. The run game is solid all night. Jalen Villarreal, Mikey Moreno, Landon Prouty, Preston Jones, Riley Strode, Jason Toscano were all very good players, and I was excited for that team, man. Good. So I think Antonian has I came away very impressed with Antonian. I know it's supposed to be a D3 team and they should take care of business like that, but they came away very impressed. And I think we'll talk about it in a second, but how St. Thomas kind of started out sluggish. If they start out sluggish against Antonian, they might be in for a rude awakening. That's kind of what I think about from Antonian. From Holy Cross's perspective, I think they competed very well for being a Division III team in this matchup. I came away very impressed. Gibby looked very good, man. I think he's underrated, bro. I know San Antonio doesn't always get much love, but he definitely deserves it. And I think he was very calm and collected, threw a great ball and put his team and led his team in this game. Marco Gomez was impressive. Patrick Ortiz, he had a really big hit I put on my story on my Twitter. He was very good. Marcus Perez, a guy who I came away who was a Central Catholic transfer, Nick Hall, number 2022, the 25. Was very impressive, and he's a much needed asset for this team, and he'll be a very key piece of this Holy Cross team. John Acosta, or JJ Acosta, the All-State freshman last year, started at safety for them. He came away very impressive, very fluid and quick, and he's always in the right place. Daniel Ortiz, the senior. Besides them, number 7, Jeremiah Vallejo, he was very good. He's a hard-hitting Mike linebacker that you just always need on a team, like with the multiple wristbands, and you know how it is. Like you need a guy like that on your team. And a guy that kind of impressed me, just by the size wise, was number 50, Daniel Alonso, the senior, 6'4" and probably like 260, if I had to guess, 270. Looked lean. He looked very impressive. He has the size. I don't know the collegiate offers, but if any college needs a tackle prospect or a defensive end prospect, go reach out to him, man. He has the size and he has the athleticism to do it. So those are kind of my guys that kind of stood out to me because I wanted to give San Antonio some love. But overall, great atmosphere, great game. Thank you for the hospitality from both sides. I think both teams have poised for a great year this year. So that is my wrap up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think no team comes away from this a loser, even though Holy Cross gets beat. I mean, they did what they needed to do. I mean, they weren't going to beat Antonian, but they looked good enough to prove that they're still going to be contenders in the D3 South. And with Cypress slipping up a little bit, I mean, it could be the year that Holy Cross wins the Southern Division or the Southern District in D3. So that being said, we will move on to Houston to cover the Woodlands Christian Academy at the John Cooper School. And my good Lord, senior wide receiver Kai Parker goes off for 306 yards and 5 touchdowns as the Woodlands Christian gets a statement win in their opener, besting John Cooper 47-27. Parker accounted for 87% of the Warriors' passing yards or receiving yards and 100% of their receiving touchdowns as Jonathan Vidal pitches an efficient 5-touchdown, 0-interception game. On the flip side, 6'3" sophomore quarterback Santiago Fernandez gets the start for the Dragons, throwing for 230, but more impressively, he rushed for 126 yards, averaging over 8 yards per carry, leading the Dragons. John Cooper ran junior athlete Dean Calhoun 34 times this game, going for 122 yards, but only averaging less than 4 yards a carry. So I talked a lot about John Cooper, even though the Woodlands won this game, because there's a few interesting points there. Just starting with the Woodlands, what a dadgum performance from Kai Parker. 306 yards and 5 touchdowns in your opening game is absolutely insane. This is a kid who plays a lot of baseball, and a lot of people know as a baseball kid. Clearly not. Clearly the kid is built to be a wide receiver. So shout out to Kai Parker, one of the more insane stat lines I have ever seen to open a season. But Walker, CWCA going to be very good this year. Going to be interesting to see how they perform in that district with Fort Bend and Second Baptist. I don't think you can just write them off anymore. I think they're going to compete for a first or second place spot. And also John Cooper, I'm interested to see that they gave Santiago Fernandez, the kid who we liked a lot, the starting job. And apparently he's an adequate rusher, even against a team with a really good defense. Like the Woodlands Christian Academy, he's for someone that young and not built like a runner to put his nose down and get 126 rushing yards and 8 yards per carry. Shout out to the sophomore.
No doubt. That's a big, I think, proving to them that he can do it, and for on the ground and in the air. I think that's good for DeHaven, saying like, I might have this. I have a guy now, and having Dean. I just hope he had an ice bath that next day and got off his feet, man. That's 34 carries is a lot. But, the Dragons we knew were going to be young. I think against an experienced TWCA team has a lot of talent. I think this is a good test for them. And I think, you never want to lose at home, but if you're going to lose, you hopefully, take it as a lesson, and I think you'd learn from it. But TWCA, I think, starts out strong. So that's a statement saying, hey, we're here, and we're gonna have to keep notice of them. Jonathan Vidal, I'm very impressed that he had 5 TDs and no interceptions. That's what you want in your first game as a junior. And that's a big win for TWCA. Excited for them.
Absolutely. Shout out the Woodlands Christian Academy. Also shout out John Cooper. A lot of what we're seeing week 1 is even the losers show what they need to. So it's looking very good for everyone that we've covered so far. Coach
Hull, man, he's a good coach over there, man. And they have a good system. They have great facilities. I mean, they got it. They got it, man. Next game.
Absolutely. So next game, we are staying in H-Town, covering Houston St. John's versus Houston St. Thomas. St. John's takes a 49-47 lead into the fourth quarter, but Lewis and Edgecombe proved too much as St. Thomas outlasts the Mavericks in a gunfight, 63-49. Luke Edgecombe, at another fantastic receiving stat line, goes for 240 yards and 4 touchdowns, as Dante Lewis goes for 500 all-purpose yards and 5 touchdowns. For the Mavs, I mean, it was the Cole Allen show, as it has been so many times since the kids started playing football. The junior athlete went for 114 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, and an 82-yard kick return touchdown. But, Stephen Gill struggles here, throwing 3 interceptions paired against 2 touchdowns, and ultimately that's why St. Thomas wins the game. Walker, this is an interesting point of analysis. It's about the same margin as St. Thomas beat St. John's last year, and both teams went on to have great seasons respectively after that. Cole Allen, still a freak, still one of the best players in SBC regardless of division, fantastic player. I'm really, really excited to see Luke Edgecombe just taking another step up after the departure of Schaefer Henderson and other guys like that. I mean, he is he is Dante Lewis's wide receiver number 1, and it's cool to see both of them in sync. Johan Cardenas did not play this game. I'm interested to see when he will be back, because I think it's going to take St. Thomas up to another gear. But I mean, it's an incredibly interesting game to look at. What did you take away from this game?
Yeah, I think that Johan coming back is going to be key, because if you have Dante doing this, where he might be the only guy in the backfield that you really have to worry about. Shout out, I think it's Keenan Bonner. No, one of the Bonner, the younger Bonner, not the kid that's at Bellaire. The younger one, he was the running back 1 for that game. So shout out to him. But yeah, I think if you see Dante doing this in the backfield, imagine him with Johan Cardenas back there. That's going to be definitely to watch. But, I think, Luke Edgecombe was always going to get his, and he got his a lot this game. And I'm, shout out to him. I think Larry Benton also getting some too. That was also really key. Like I said, I think in the last episode, I said having those 2 guys both be at the top of their game, because one of them has to be open because of how good they are. One of them is going to have to get open, and making sure when they are open, act on that is going to be key for this team. There definitely is a better term for that, but that's what the term I'm using. Good win. Aaron Valentine, shout out to him with all 3 interceptions from that game. The DB, the safety spot, that's going to be crucial for him. I think it's going to be interesting. We were both shocked when it was tied at 35 at half. That was not what you kind of expected. But they came out on the win, and that's kind of, the win's a win. But I definitely think the defense for both teams might need to, no team should want to get 63 put on them, even 49 put on them. So that's something that the defensive coordinators for both teams are going to have to sit in the film room and kind of be like, all right, what do we go from here? Because if you're going to give up a lot of points, you want to do it week 1 where you can learn from it. So I think this is a good win, and also a good lesson for both defenses and both teams to take from it. So I think great win for St. Thomas. And I'm excited for the next couple of weeks, because I will say this. I think I said this on the live. If you want to come hear us our thoughts after the games, go to our Twitter Spaces. If the defense, gets put up 49 on a team like St. John's, which is a great offense, one of the best in TXPS. When Regents comes into town in a couple weeks, That is not something you want to hear. And so that is when you have to kind of be worried about, all right, 49, when our offense, will score more on a team like Regents, where that might not be as easy. You really don't want that. So that's going to be something to watch if there's the St. Thomas defense can kind of hold up while their offense keeps producing at this rate.
Definitely so. It'll be interesting to watch both of those teams move forward. But let us move into the final game of the week we're going to recap, and one that I really, really, really do not want to. First Baptist at Brazos Christian. Man. Oh, man. Oh, man. I've been wrong more than a couple times in my life, but outside of wagering my house as collateral for a Dallas Christian bet, this could be the worst. First Baptist dismantles Brazos Christian to the tune of 55-13 as senior athlete Elijah Kaysen goes for over 300 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. Another just absolutely insane receiver statistic that we see, the third of which we've seen in our recap. Senior quarterback Hunter McCoy throws for 508 yards and 7 touchdowns, just because why not? As sophomore Dominic and junior Caleb Mitchell each grabbed touchdowns, as this air attack was absolutely unstoppable. Listen, I think the addition of Hunter McCoy to this Saints squad allows Elijah Kaysen to go back to wide receiver. It puts First Baptist into another gear. This is not at all the team that you saw last year, the team that was barely beating Bishop Gorman and things like that. This now, and I mentioned it before, might be the favorite to take over in Division 4. Lubbock Christian are still the champions of number 1 until they get beat. That's just pretty much how it works. First Baptist is right there, if not the number 1 team in D4. Walker, this is something that you took First Baptist, but we were all basically like, this is going to be a close game. We all pretty much agreed on that. It was not. Your thoughts on the Saints boat racing the Eagles here?
Yeah, that is not something you want to happen. I saw Coach Washington right after the game. He tweeted out, learn from it, bounce back from it. I think that's the mindset that Brazos Christian has to have. And if you want to play him again and kind of get that revenge, you got to work for it. And, they'll probably play him in the playoffs late, down the line. So you have to get there. And I think they have a great team. They just have to learn and bounce back from it, like Coach Washington said. On the other side, though, to make up, hey, I know you're a little sad. The Rangers just won. If that
I did see that. I saw that, and it lifted my spirits, even though we just let the Mariners take control of the American League. How does that anyway? Just back to Texas private school football.
We're so back though. Anyways, yeah, not a. It's rain. How do we lose 8 in a row?
Anyways,
yeah, big win for First Baptist, and I think they kind of set the tone for TAPS Division 4 this year and say, we're coming and we're ready to go. We have the talent to do it. Because Hunter McCoy threw for 500 yards. They didn't even use one of his best attributes of his game, where he is able to create things with his legs. If you are able to throw for 500 yards, and then if you want to stop one of their receivers and let Hunter McCoy do his thing, that's even deadlier. First Baptist looks really good, man. And we kind of said it after, Wes went to spring ball and saw a lot about this team. This team looks really good, and they're coming for that state championship this year, and I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely. My major question was, all the talents there, is it going to click like it needs to? It has, and I think it will continue to. I mean, I think they're going to boat race everyone in their district, and I think we're going to see them in Waco. I mean, I don't want to put any jinxes on First Baptist, but Coach Lavorne did tell me that did tell our associate. By the way, big shout out to our associate Stephen Johnson for covering this game. Got a lot of fantastic clips that I have seen circulating around Twitter. So shout out to Twitter shout out to Stephen for getting some great shots. But I know Jason Lavorne told Steven that he wants me to keep picking them as underdogs. Coach Lavorne, just to spite you, that will never happen again this season. Yeah, I will be. I said it after I visited y'all in the spring. I was like, they might be my favorite, my title favorite for D4. Made a mistake week 1. It happens, but First Baptist will be getting my vote every week following this one. But that being said, that will actually do it for our week 1 recap. Now we move into, what is just straight up my favorite segment on this show. Does DC and Parish cover? Looking first, does Dallas Christian cover? We'll start with last week first. They were a 34.5 favorite versus Bishop Dunn. They beat them by 48. They beat them 48-0. They cover the spread. Easy. I have bet DC to cover every single spread since we've started this segment, and they have. And I honestly don't see any point in the future where I will stop betting that. This week, they are 27.5 favorites versus Wichita Christian out of Monroe, Louisiana. This might be deceivingly tougher than it looks. Wichita Christian was the 1A state champions in Louisiana last year. Gun to my head, I have no idea how Louisiana sets up their football divisions. I couldn't tell you how Louisiana 1A football compares to Texas private school football. That being said, I look at numbers and I see 14-1 overall in a state championship. I'm going to guess that Wichita Christian is pretty daggum good at football, but they don't have Mike Wheeler coaching them. So they are a 27.5 point favorite versus Wichita Christian. I say DC covers that and more this year. Am I wagering my house on it? No, but I'm saying they'll win. Walker, Lott, your thoughts?
They cover. I have no idea about this team. No idea.
Speaking of which, I was sent by a DC guy. I was sent a link to a podcast that he did with somebody previewing this game. So remind me off air. I'll send you that. We'll do our research for DC versus Wichita Christian, and hopefully catch a stream of it while it's going on.
1 second. We're gonna put it to Alexa. I'm gonna say, Alexa, flip a coin. If it's a heads, they're gonna cover. Heads, if not, whatever. Hey, Alexa, heads or tails? They are covering, ladies and gentlemen. It was heads. So
fantastic.
Congratulations, DC. You will cover the spread.
I think this is how you need to do every spread from now on, is just have, we need to do our picks and then Alexa's picks. But that being said, we both picked DC to cover a 27.5 point spread versus Wichita Christian. No. Now looking at Parish for the first time ever. I picked a team. Actually, that's a lie. I picked Parish to cover the spread. But for the first time ever, people are street racing outside my apartment. That's real fun and cool. For the first time ever, versus DC and Parish, one of the teams were an underdog in the game. Parish was a 19.5 point dog against Aledo. We both picked them to cover, and they covered it. They were within 15 points. The game was 50-35. So shout out to Parish Episcopal for covering versus Aledo. This week, they are 29.5 point favorites against Episcopal in Farmers Branch. Keep in mind, I have never not picked Parish or DC to cover a football game. There's been 13 times we've done this.
Yep.
Mine is 29.5.
That's a lot.
And keep in mind, this was a 7-point game last year. I'm not going to give away my pick, but EHS covers that spread. Parish doesn't cover a 30-point spread against EHS.
Yeah, I agreed. We'll see what Alexa says. Alexa, heads or tails? Okay. It does even the animation. Can you hear that?
I can.
Heads.
All right. They said they will cover the spread. Alexa says Parish will cover the spread.
So if we get burned on this and I get chirped by everyone and they do cover the spread, I'm just going to tail Alexa's picks for however long we run the segment until we get run off of it. So that being said, we both pick DC to cover. We pick Parish not to cover. Alexa picks both teams to cover. So that being said, before we move into our games of the week, let's take some time and talk about High Point Signs and Apparel. This is who the episode is sponsored by. You've heard us talk about them in several episodes leading up to this. They do a fantastic job. We just did our whole spiel about our merch. They're the ones who made this merch. We got it done through them. They are fantastic. Every question we have had regarding this, they have answered. They've made it an incredibly smooth, seamless transition. I can't recommend these guys enough. Listen, They don't miss deadlines. They provide exceptional customer service. Both me and Walker can attest to that. They will meet or beat any price. Good luck finding a better deal than that anywhere you go. They will create online stores that can provide your employees with apparel, or they can be profit centers. Listen, guys, the shop that we're talking about, the shop we're setting up for all of our merch, it's through High Point. They're the ones that build that. Walker, I'll let you talk more, but I can't recommend these guys enough. They do a fantastic job. Every piece of merch that we've put out through them looks, feels fantastic. A big shout out to High Point.
Yeah, I mean, when we've been working with them, it's been nothing but amazing. Talking about the online store, we literally were like, can we do this, this, and this? And they said, yes, we'll do exactly that. And it's been looking awesome. So they've been helping out with us tremendously, and it's been such an easy process. So definitely go check them out if you want your playoff shirts when that time comes, or any shirt you want to do for your, for Booster Club or anything. Please reach out to them. They've been awesome to work with. So High Point Signs and Apparel.
Absolutely. High Point Signs and Apparel. The links to their websites are in the show notes, the description of this episode. Go check them out. Yet again, Walker and I don't promote things that we don't use on our own, that we don't find useful. And these guys are both of those things. Shout out to High Point Signs and Apparel. But Walker, with that being said, let us get into my second favorite. No, this is my favorite part. The gambling jokes aside, there is nothing I love more than previewing games and just getting picks absolutely wrong every week. Let's start with Episcopal at Parish. Parish, as we mentioned, is a 29.5 point favorite. They have a 92% chance to win this game, according to the Massey ratings. And man, oh man, what an absolute star-studded matchup we have here for week 2. Arguably the two best teams from a talent standpoint in Texas private school football, and a game that was much closer than expected last year that Parish would go on to win 24-17. This year is going to be an absolute showcase. Parish dons an offense consisting of Purdue commit Sawyer Anderson, Harvard commit Maddox Reed, ULL commit Sam Liu, Hutch Crow. The list goes on and on. I can't even talk about all the guys that have D1 potential on this roster, but we will say on the defensive end, Purdue commit Caleb Mitchell-Irving, Caleb Bowers, DC Crane. The talent is without a doubt there. As for Episcopal Bellaire, Running Rebels commit Carson Gordon, Yale commit Braylon Thompson, Power 5 target Madden Morgan, Colin Witt, and Billy Wheelis up front, BJ Thomas at running back, and all these guys round out an incredibly high-powered night squad, one of the few in the state that can probably match or come close to matching Parish from a talent standpoint. There's a lot of discussion about Parish losing almost all of their defense, and it's certainly a point to analyze. Episcopal has a ton of talent and looks as poised as ever to win the SPC and become elite. However, 4-time defending state champions. I can't bet against the Panthers until I get a reason to, and with all the D1 talent still being there, I won't be doing that anytime soon. Go Panthers, give me Parish in this game. Walker Lott.
I mean, I am so excited for this one. I'm so excited for you to go watch this. I think it's gonna be an awesome one. It's just going to be such a good one. I think the offense for EHS is clicking right now. Dan Casey is, scheming up a storm, and Carson Gordon is just doing it for perfection. Adding BJ Thomas at running back, Logan Barty did great in their game against Livingston. Is that where they played?
Yes.
And guys like that, I think this team is really coming together, and I am very, very excited for this game. The guy that I'm excited to mention is he didn't put up any stats, but Jalen Pyle, the South Lake Carroll transfer, might be a guy if he is healthy. I don't know for sure, and I would expect him to be on the stat list, but he isn't. If he kind of comes in with also Bryson Fields and Hutch Crow, guys like that, I think a guy like that is going to be kind of a difference maker to kind of set them over the top. Give me Parish in this one. I can't go against the state champions, but I am expecting a really, really good game here, man. I really am. So I expect the defense, Caleb Mitchell-Irving to come out strong. I think that's going to be a great test for EHS, with EHS's offensive line being one of the best in the state. Guys like Tyler Saraski, the Ridge Point transfer, is going to have his hands full with Nick Ferris and others on the offensive line for Parish. So this is a good one. I think the front seven for Bellaire has always been very good. And they are good again this year, and they have their hands full with this offensive line. So this is going to be a fun one for sure.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned it because I completely forgot to. I will be at this game in Farmers Branch on Friday. Just something about blue turf I really like. I haven't been to Parish since my junior year of college. So 2 years ago when we started, when they played Nolan. So I'm incredibly excited to be back. Yeah, blue turf's cool unless you're playing Preston Stone and getting blown out by 50 on that blue turf. That's not quite as fun. Anyways, moving on to a game that Walker Lott will be at. This is Hyde Park at St. Dominic Savio. Hyde Park is an 18.5-point favorite with a 78% chance to win, according to the Massey ratings. Austin gets their time in the limelight as Walker will be on site in the state capitol for Hyde Park versus St. Dominic Savio. Savio is coming off a win at 5A Navarro, where Hyde Park dropped their opener to D4 champion Lubbock Christian. Savio's seen success since moving to a freelance schedule, going 8-2 last year under the command of senior quarterback Leighton Riviere, and man, does he have some weapons to throw to in Bobby Humphreys and David Duplantier. A senior-heavy squad should be poised to win a lot of contests this year for St. Dominic Savio. On the flip side, Hyde Park was the breakout team from last season, and Phil Dawson will lean on the best tight end in the state, Carter Braw, to make plays for this Panthers team, along with Quade Jackson and Jack Braddock. I have a lot of intrusive thoughts telling me to take Savio here. They're coming off a win. They're loaded with senior experience, and I just really, really like Leighton Riviere. However, if I've learned anything from 3 years of doing this, it's patience. Hyde Park has a great culture in the works, and I'm not jumping to conclusions off of a 1-week game. Give me the Panthers here, but begrudgingly. I can already foresee the future, my crystal ball where Savio wins this game and Leighton Riviere gets to chirp me on Twitter. But I think it's going to be close, but I do like Hyde Park. I do think they're going to get it done here.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna go say Dominic Savio. I think I'm kind of just scared away by that loss to Lubbock Christian a little bit from Hyde Park. That is not a loss that I was expecting. I know Lubbock Christian is a great team and has a lot of talent, but I'm a little worried by that. And a guy like also Jaden Williams coming into that squad for St. Dominic Savio, having a receiving core of those three plus Leighton is going to be awesome to watch. And I'm so excited to be down in Austin. This is going to be my first game covering a private school in Austin ever. And I'm so excited for this. St. Dominic Savio has always been big fans of us. And, we've always been wanting to get down to a game there. So we're doing it now. So I'm excited for this. Really, really excited. And this is going to be a good one. And, I'm excited to see Carter Brawl and the quarterback over there for Hyde Park and other guys. So it should be a good one there down in Austin. But I'm going to give Leighton and the three receivers that I'm really excited to watch the edge here. Give me St. Dominic Savio.
I like that a lot. Walker, I hope that your first game in Austin goes a lot better than my first game in Austin. That's not to say that I thoroughly enjoyed the game I went to, even with the lightning storm, but there was a lot of stuff after that that made it not very fun. You can get at me if you want to hear that whole story. Anyways, moving on to the third to last game that we will preview. This is Second Baptist at Prestonwood. There is no spread for Massey ratings on this game. There's no win percentage. Very sad, but we will move into the matchup nonetheless. One of our initial DFW versus Houston matchups, the Eagles will drive up 45 to the Prestonwood compound to take on the Lions. We previewed Prestonwood last week, but it's the same picture. Tulane commit Kellen Tasby is a true Division I prospect at 6'6", 215 pounds. Gunnar Navier is a great target at wideout, as previously mentioned. And Elijah Knott caught my eye at defensive back. And Jack Harwell is still eating offensive linemen for breakfast. Prestonwood still chock full of talent. Second Baptist, however, just destroyed their first D1 opponent of the year, and they will look to eviscerate their second here just in a few days. We have the Eagles ranked as the best team in District 4, and for good reason. Senior athlete J.D. Crisp is poised for an MVP caliber season, and with an offense of Turner Murdoch and Cannon Toon, the Eagles certainly have the firepower necessary. You add legendary coach Beck Bryden to the equation, that only helps the Eagles' case here. I got to take Second Baptist. Listen, Division 2 has dogged Division 1. In the past year or so. I mean, I think Second Baptist is an elite player in Division 2. I think Prestonwood, like I mentioned, is going to be good, but it's going to take them a few weeks to figure out how to play with each other. I think second's going to win here, and I think they're going to win comfortably.
It's going to be an interesting matchup. This is going to be a good one. I think more than last year. I think Prestonwood won it last year, but those were a lot of guys that, were seniors and played a lot together. This is kind of a new squad, and it's going to be interesting to watch. But I think another week of this Prestonwood team gelling even more, I think is going to be good. I'm going to pick Prestonwood here. I'm going to pick the Division I team still. I think this team is very good and very talented. I think it just, maybe needed a week to kind of jump into its senses. Second Baptist, I think, is going to put up a fight. I think it's going to be a really, really good one. I think this is going to be a really great matchup. I think matchups like JD Crisp on their receiving as a receiver is going to be fun to watch. And I think Turner Murdoch coming into his own. JD Chris had a great week with like 2 touchdowns and 100 yards receiving last week. So I think he's going to be poised for a good year. But I'm going to pick Prestonwood. I think it's maybe the safer pick, and I think I'm going to choose it.
Yeah, I mean, both are fantastic teams. I think it's going to be another example to show us how D2 stacks up against D1 this year. We already got an example of that with Liberty, but how can a team like Second Baptist match up with a team who we think is at the top of D1? So it'll be a very fun one to see regardless. Moving down to a Houston-based matchup, St. John's at Houston Christian. St. John's, according to Massey ratings, is a 32.5-point favorite with a 97% win chance in this game. Wow, indeed. The first Houston-on-Houston SBC matchup of the year, Mavericks will travel to the Mustangs Friday in an equine battle for the ages. We surprised a lot of people when we picked Houston Christian to finish second in 3A following a stellar year in 2022. But with talent such as Jordan Ellie Stewart and Brett Kilchrist and Bennett Mallory, the Stangs drummed Lutheran South last week. St. John's is coming off a close loss to D1 contender Houston St. Thomas, a game which they led into the fourth quarter. Y'all know the names: Stephen Gill, Cole Allen, Will Hoffreck, Michael Murphy. They're going to contend for a 4A title. Listen, I think Houston Christian has the chance to be great this year, and I certainly think they have the talent to win this game. But don't overthink it. St. John's has a more proven track record, and this early in the season, I have no reason not to take them. Go Mavs.
Oof. Okay, this is a good one. This is a really good one. I think that's a big win for Houston Christian in week 1. Brett Kilchrist, is a guy we talked about how he was going to be a difference maker for this team, and he absolutely was week 1. What do you put up? He went up 269 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 135 yards on the ground, and another touchdown. I think he's definitely going to be the difference maker this year with all the other athletes they have on that squad. Man, this is going to be fun. I'll go St. John's. I think Stephen Gill will have a bounce back game. I think he'll be very good. You can never underestimate Cole Allen. And with the receiving tandem, as always, I do think this is going to be a close one, though. I think Houston Christian with Brett and everyone else is going to come to play. And this is going to be fun to watch. Amari Barnes on the defensive side also had a really good game. We forgot to mention him earlier. And I think guys like that with Jordan Ellie Stewart, others, I think this is going to be a good Houston Christian team.
I completely agree with that. I think a 32.5-point spread is insane. I was telling Walker before we started recording, the spreads at this point in the year are really, really crazy. There's not a whole lot of data to go off of. It's pretty intuitive. Once we get, further in the year, the spreads will make more sense, but it's just good talking points. But 32.5 points for St. John's to be favored in this game is ridiculous. But that being that, we will move on to a West Texas matchup to close us out. Austin Regents at Midland Christian, where Midland Christian is a 20.5-point favorite in this game with an 82% win chance. Remember how I just said something about the spreads this early in the year? Anyways, Regents will take the long, flat bus ride to the oil fields that I know so well this Friday to take on the Mustangs of Midland Christian. I say I know it well. Walker Lott knows it a lot better than I do, but this will be Midland's first action of the season, whereas Regents is coming off of a 45-14 shellacking of Central Catholic. Midland Christian made a lot of noise this summer, qualifying for state 7-on-7. And with Colton Newsom throwing to guys like Boston Rodriguez, the Stangs will be very talented through their air attack, but probably not as talented as Regents. One of the top quarterbacks in the country, Quinn Murphy, has weapons like Hudson Powell, Graham Regentes. I've just butchered your name. Regents, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to hit me with the DM with the pronunciation guide and Blake Smith at his disposal. It's going to be an electric factory. You add in guys like Jacob Wilburn and William Johnson at linebacker, and the defense will be Regents' calling card as always. Midland will compete in a loaded D2, but Regents going to be chomping at the bit to be at the top. Give me the Knights in this one.
Oh man, I'll make my pick off the bat. I also am going to go Regents. I think this team looks really, really good. I think, Bus Fatigue is, of course, going to play a key role in this. And Midland is, some of the best places to play, St. Thomas, Central Catholic, Antonian, and Midland is one of them. And it is going to be really, really rowdy. They're going to have a great atmosphere up there in Midland. And I think this is a game. I guess what I'm trying to say is this is where a game like Quinn Murphy is going to prove to people that he can do it at the best of his ability, in any noise, anything like that. If he can go to Midland and go through all of that and all the chirping is going to be from the stands and get in the atmosphere and all the yelling and all the craziness that will happen with this and still go out there and put up 40 on them, I think that's going to solidify him as one of the best in country. Personally, for me, I think he already is, but I think that's going to cement something about him that I really, really like. So give me Regents, give me Regents huge in this one. But I think Midland, Colton Newsom is a gamer. Boston Rodriguez is as well. I think they have a good squad. I just think Regents is a little bit too good, and is poised to kind of prove people wrong, especially with the teams like Fort Worth All Saints and Liberty out there. I think they want to show that they can compete and hang with those two guys, and doing it against a district foe is going to be big for them. So give me Regents and give me Regents big.
We talk about culture a lot. We beat the horse dead, but you will be hard pressed to find two better ones than the teams matching up in this
For
game.
sure.
So it'll be fantastic. Two great coaches going at it. So Walker, with all of that being said, that will conclude the content we have for week 2. I feel like we've been waiting so long to get back into Texas private school football, and I can't believe we're already recording our second episode of the season. Before you know it, we'll blink and we'll be in Waco. It's just I don't know. I can't ever get over that we actually get to do this the way we do it to the audience we're broadcasting to. And also, I'll just take a moment to say, I had a fantastic time at Liberty. To any time that I go or we go somewhere and cover, and you see any of us walking around, come up and say hi and strike a conversation. There's nothing that Walker or I like more than to engage with the people that consume our content and that participate in this community. It's one of my favorite things to do is talk to people from different schools. I love it. Walker loves it. And thank you all for everything, for supporting our content. I said it in our post. We started out as 3 kids just talking to the microphones, and it's grown into something that it's hard for me to fathom. But Walker, I'll get off my emotional soapbox. Is there anything you want to leave the people with before we get out of here?
Nah, I at the Alamo Dome when the drums were playing and the bands were, and everyone was just cheering for the opening kickoff, I literally looked around and I said, "This is what I get to do. This is so much fun." And just to add on to your point, this is some of the most fun. And I you do all this work, you do all this, you stress yourself out with all the stuff behind the scenes and all this, and you're like, sometimes, oh, is it worth it? And then I go there on Friday nights and I stand there and I watch the crowd and I watch the atmosphere and I'm like, there's nothing better, man. And for you guys who are playing, understand this is so much fun, and it's some of the best years of your life, playing the game that we all love. So enjoy it. I'm excited to be there in Austin. It's gonna be a good one. Wes is gonna have a great one up there in Parish and Dallas, and we're excited for another week of great Texas high school football. So
absolutely, I am incredibly excited to get to cover another game this week. It's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to get on a Twitter space and talk about everything that night. It's going to be a great time. But all of that being said, as always,
I will say, if you reach the end of the Twitter space, we always do our college football picks for the day because
we
they
do.
get.
I really did want to do week 0 last year or last week. I was dead tired and I didn't care about any of those games. But this week we'll get to talk about A&M, and I'll express my fears that we're going to regress to a Stone Age offense again. But if you want to hear all of that content, listen to the Twitter space. We'll detail it all there. But with all that being said, as always, I have been half of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott has fantastically been himself. TXPSmedia.com, the link tree, get the merch, get the apparel. We put so much work into this. We're so excited to bring it to you. Please support us that way. And yeah, we'll see you in the week 3 preview. See you later.
3, 2, 1.